Hey, good morning, Eastern Oregon, and welcome to this January 23rd version of AM Live on EOA, your connection to Eastern Oregon. We're glad that you're here. You can find all of our content at EOA.network, like www.eoa.network, and that takes you to a link tree where it shows you where all of our stuff is distributed. So this morning, hey, it's just Kyle and I.
Solo.
Yep. Kind of rapping back and forth. Yeah.
We've got a good streak of guests, though.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. And next week, well, I'll just mention that real quick. So next week, next Tuesday, is the second installment of Justin Montgomery being here with us talking about artificial intelligence. He'll be demonstrating some stuff for us, which is like super interesting. And then the following Thursday, EOU Peter Wartelman's group is getting ready to put on a musical extravaganza because it's music that they put together and written, and there's a choreographer from out of town, and he'll be with us. And anyhow, we'll be talking. That's next Thursday. They'll be with us.
It's the choir at EOU, and one term a year they do a like musical thing. Instead of doing choir performances,
Right.
They put together like a show.
A show. That's a good word. Yeah.
That's this term at EOU. I was asking Benny about it. I was like, what if you want to sing in the choir, but you don't want to necessarily be, you know what I mean? Like, what if I wanted to sing in the choir all year long, but I don't want to do the other part? And he's like, you don't really have a choice. You if you're in choir, that term, that you have to do it.
Yeah.
So that's what that is.
So Benny is in it, our producer that's in the other room, and yeah, he'll be dancing. He was telling me, he's taking.
Oh, that's gonna be a hot mess. Oh wow!
Yeah,
just like a newborn giraffe. Kind of comes out.
You can respond back, Benny, if you want. Yeah, we'll have to get him. Have to get him a camera in there so that
Can't
he can
defend
pipe back
himself
in
when he's back there.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Yes. People are starting to use the group. So we started a group on Facebook for people to post news and pictures and sports scores, and it's been used a couple times. I want to encourage people to use that. A lot of people just want to like message me or whatever. It's easier if you just put it all right there, and I can just snag the pictures off of that. I mean, unless you're somebody that I normally have contact with, like, I mean, I got some parents that are my friends that send me pictures. That's a little different. But if you're just the average Joe out and about, and you don't want to message me or whatever, just post it right there, and I pay attention to it. Somebody posted something about the swim team this last weekend, and I picked it up and got a story out. It might not be right at the minute you do it, but I'll make sure that it gets put over onto EOA Live and people get some recognition. I mean, especially the sports stories, they get a lot of exposure on EOA Live. So feel free to use that group. If you're not a part of it, you can just go to. I want to say it's EOA Live Sports and News Group, and you can just petition to become a member. We have an AI bot that will either give you a thumbs up or make an admin come in and check it out. But we don't deny anybody. I mean, I don't think unless you're. I don't think we've ever even had anybody go to the points to where we've had to block them unless it's been these people that post the links to scams and that. Yeah. So the community has done pretty well with that, actually. You know what I mean? Like, we haven't had anybody too crazy, you know, which is surprising because I've read plenty of other Facebook pages where people have gone off the deep end. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we've had a little bit of it, but we've never had to really block somebody. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And we have a lot of followers, and nobody's taking it to the point. I mean, I've never blocked anybody. I don't think. Have you? Yeah,
No.
I've never blocked anybody outside of the scams.
Right, outside of spam or something, you know. I mean, no, I haven't, you know. And
Which is good because we want people to come. You know what I mean? Even if you don't agree with what.
Right.
there shouldn't really be too much disagreement just because of our mission statement on what we post.
Right.
But there, I mean, like I can understand the comments from yesterday on the commissioner stuff. Like if you don't agree with it, say you don't, and why, and generate a healthy, good conversation. That's what it's for.
Well, and we'd really love to know your feedback, because what's something that's been going on, Kyle and I have been talking about this quite a bit, is that since the Observer is no longer local here, then there's a lot of people feel a vacuum in being able to have news and information. And so then I mean, I've had several people from the community say, well, are you going to start a local newspaper? In other words, are you going to start doing those kinds of stories? And even that's not really been our game, but I think that there is we do have a responsibility to cover things locally here, and not always the happy things, although that's been part of our mission in the past, is just to talk about the good things of Eastern Oregon. So anyhow, I mean, over a period of time, we probably are going to start doing more of that kind of stuff. And yesterday, that story with the commissioners, that just kind of fell in my lap. I happened to be at that particular meeting, and because during the public comments, I made a comment about, and just so you know, if you're a part of the public, I am part of the public. And while I was running as Fork County Commissioner and was not successful at that, there were some things that were important to me that kind of emerged. And so during the public comments yesterday, I talked about how that I wish the county would use communication methods better, perhaps have a Facebook page, and just the county is very transparent. I have to say that. Any information from the city of La Grande or from the county is easily gettable, but it being gettable is not necessary. I mean, it's got to be that's not the standard anymore. As we all know, there's a standard of where that's the information. Let me put it this way: any wise organization, doesn't matter who it is, if it's a government organization, if it's a business, or whatever it is, if you're doing something or you've changed your policies and it's going to make people confused or unhappy, then it's going to be in your best interest to get in front of that and be the one that's telling that to people on your social media or whatever the case. And so I think that's where counties and city governments need to be. And anyhow, so during that public comment, I made some of those comments and some of those suggestions. And then this other thing just kind of came up while I was there. So the story just kind of like, man.
Yeah, what he's talking about is some term limit change, like whether or not you can petition the court to extend your term limits. I agree 100%. Now, this might not be my opinion when it comes to or what I want, but I agree 100% with the comments on there. If we voted for it, the people voted for it, you shouldn't be able to petition that with a court.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason why people voted for it. And if that was the vote, which it was apparently, then you shouldn't be able to, as a commissioner, go petition it to the court and have just a judge decide whether or not you can go against something that the people voted for. That's just, and I would say that about anything, regardless of my stance on it.
Right.
That I'm a man for the people.
Right. But, and I don't disagree with you. The but is that it was tested and it was found to be unconstitutional.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know why that is. I followed up with a conversation, left a message with Wyatt Baum to see if he would come on and help us understand that a little bit more. And Tanya asked that same question when we were talking about it. It was like, well, if the public voted for it, if something is deemed unconstitutional, then that erases it. So, for instance, yes, the public has a voice, but they can't, let's say all of us, if the public voted, there was some kind of a initiative that was out there, and the public voted, hey, we are only going to let people that make more than $75,000 a year be on the city council. I mean, let's say that you passed that and the public passed that. Okay, well, somebody would test that and go, well, that's not that's unconstitutional. You can't do that, And so then that's the point. The point is the public cannot pass something that is against the Constitution.
I know there's lots of other positions where you're voted in where there's term limits. So.
Right, and I don't know the ins and outs of that. I don't know.
But when you look at the reason why people voted for it, and it's been stated on there, that's a really good reason. Okay. I like that reason.
Right, but all of that is not the issue. The issue of why it was unconstitutional or not, that's not a part of the discussion. What's a part of the discussion is that it is so the story is this. So Union County passed an initiative that county commissioners could only serve 2 terms or a total of 8 years. That was in 2017. I don't know why that somebody thought that was unconstitutional. That's out of my realm of legal expertise. And if you know that and you want to put that in the comments, that might be helpful. But so then a county commissioner who had already served a county commissioner in Douglas County, and they had passed a similar initiative, he challenged that in a court as being unconstitutional and won. And so then he was able to serve a 3rd term. Well, just because that was passed in Douglas County doesn't mean that Union County, that it applies to Union County. But the way that the law works is if there's a precedent set. So if somebody wanted to run for a 3rd term and they tested it in court, they would go back. They'd say, well, this was defeated in Douglas County, and so then this should be defeated in Union County also. That's almost a for sure thing. And so then Union County decided, you know what, rather than we're coming up on a potential situation where somebody who has served 2 terms wants to run a 3rd term, we should line this out and have an explanation before we get to that point. And so then that's what the commissioners decided, was they were going to seek an opinion from the court to find out if that is something that Union County, where Union County stands on that also. So that's where it's at.
Yeah, that part of it doesn't matter to me. The part of it that matters to me is the voters passed it one way, and they did it for a reason. And the reason is they don't want people to get comfortable in that position. And I agree with that 100%. Now, that has nothing to do personally with what I think the commissioners are doing or anything like that. But the outside framework of it makes a lot of sense when you really think about it. Okay, we want to limit these commissioners to 2 terms because we don't want that good old boy effect. And right. I saw that in the comments, and I can't disagree with that.
Well, here's the problem with that. And I agree. I mean, I think that in 2017, I voted in favor of that. Okay. But what I didn't know at the time, and I don't, anyhow, what I didn't know at the time is that in all of these counties, a county commissioner they sit on all of these state boards, whatever it might be. Okay. Well, if you are a brand new commissioner, you are not in the leadership of those boards.
You're on the bottom of the totem.
You're on the bottom of the totem pole. Okay. And so then, and we had some fairly long-serving county commissioners before this was passed. And that's why that initiative was laid out there. But what a lot of people did not understand was those long-serving county commissioners were now on state boards that could influence decisions that benefited Union County. So that's the main thing.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I mean, that's the price you'd have to pay to keep it from becoming a good old boy.
I know, but that is the other side of the equation nobody ever told me that. I didn't know that.
I've heard that come straight out of people's mouths on the show. Like,
because right, you have, but nobody talked about that in 2017. I'll guarantee you when that initiative passed. So I don't disagree. And Donna Beveridge, to her credit, she just finished her 8th year. and Jake Sievert was elected in her position. But she knew that she could have challenged it herself. But her opinion, I mean, what I heard her say many times is,
yep.
I understand the will of the people, whether somebody thinks it's unconstitutional or not. She didn't say that, but I understand the will of the people, and, I'm going to only serve 8 years because I know that that's what the people of Union County voted to do. So,
which in my eyes is a noble and the right thing to do.
It's certainly honorable.
Yeah,
I don't disagree with that at all.
I think it's the right thing to do too.
Yeah, but to be fair, specific. Here's the other side. And if Matt Scarfo was here, and in the story, I didn't put this in because I was just trying to, cover the story. But one of Matt's positions is that, he has said, well, yeah, I wouldn't mind running another term, especially when my first term was absorbed mostly by dealing with COVID.
Yeah.
And Matt is the commissioner that was the public health. All of the commissioners, the 3 commissioners, divide up county responsibilities, and public health was under his thing. So yeah, he spent a lot of time talking about COVID and dealing with that. And I think he kind of feels like that he's been pushing super hard for many years to get the fairgrounds funded, the $2.5 million. And I think that he feels like, hey, now I'm at a place where people know me at the state. I think I can do something more for the Union County. So I think that Matt's motive is to do just that, to continue to do good things for Union County. And I think he's done really well at that, and I think he would continue to do so.
Yeah.
And if he ran for a 3rd term, I would vote for him. So yeah.
I'm not saying I would or wouldn't vote for him, but I agree with the flip side. Is like if the people voted for it, it doesn't matter. Like,
well, and I don't disagree. But I think part of our job is to uncover all sides of it and think about it from all sides.
Yeah, all sides uncovered.
Right.
If the people voted for it,
yeah,
I'm with the people.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, and I'm really curious to know why it was found to be unconstitutional. I don't know.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
No clue.
Well, hey, so let's talk about national politics for a second.
Yeah. No, let's not. Let's talk about sports.
Oh, yeah, let's do that. We'll come back to that.
I'm not talking about national politics with you.
All right. Well, it's not quite like that.
You can talk about national
all
politics.
Right. So let's do sports.
All right. AM Sports Report brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress. Comfort and style to your home, bring it with the decorative pillows. They have accent pillows, throw pillows, decorative pillows. They not only add coziness, they elevate the ambiance of any room, whether it's your living room, your bedroom, or your guest room. These small touches make a big difference. Northwest Furniture and Mattress, Big Red Rocking Chair off Adams and LeGrand. On Tuesday night, the boys basketball team beat Vale at home 73-46. This was their 2nd time beating Vale this season. They beat them earlier in the season on the road. This win brings the boys' record to 5-11 overall and 1-0 in the GOL. The girls traveled to Stanfield and won 64-53. Their record's 11-3 overall and 1-0 in the GOL. I think those games were kind of tune-ups for tomorrow. Both teams travel over the mountain to Baker to take on the Bulldogs in what is a great test for both teams, I think. These GOL games kick off at 6 for the girls and 7:30 for the boys. And I think it's going to really tell both teams kind of where they stand in this conference this year. Huge games tomorrow night in Baker. LHS Wrestling is at the Research Tournament of Champions this weekend, which is a lot of people say it's the top dog of all top dogs, even above the state tournament, just because at Research you get to wrestle 6A, 5A, 4A, and it doesn't matter what level you're in. It's not a dual tournament. It's an individual tournament. They do keep a team score. So the team will score, and you can win the tournament as a team. But this is the opportunity to really shine as a wrestler on the state all-around level, not just at your classification. So, for instance, you could have in the finals, you could have a kid from LeGrand wrestling a kid from Roseburg, where you won't see that in the state tournament because they're not in the same classification. It's a huge tournament. It's really cool. It's a fun one to watch. You can follow it on Track Wrestling. Just type in the search bar, research, and it'll pop right up for the weekend. EOU men's and women's basketball head down south to take on Southern and OIT. It's tipping off tomorrow night. These games are huge for both teams as they both sit in 4th place currently in the CCC. I had reached out to junior Garrett Hawks from the men's team earlier last week about an interview. We got it scheduled, and then what does he do this weekend? He turns around and has a huge weekend, dropping 31 points on Multnomah in a must-win game from the Mounties on Saturday. He was named the CCC Offensive Player of the Week. We sat down Tuesday after the big weekend to talk about hoops life, dad life, married life. That interview came out yesterday. Here's a little peek at it. What's it like being married and having a kid? I mean, it's not as uncommon as you think, especially for guys who have been on a mission. Like it's not as uncommon as you think. But what's it like? How do you juggle it?
It definitely is a little bit more busy than I expected. At times when you finish class and you've already gone to practice, and that's a lot of times when guys go in and put extra reps in the gym after, and you have that feeling of, I should be home, right? I should be with my family. Yeah. So you have to find different times to get into the gym. Maybe it's earlier morning when people are still asleep. Yeah. Get in your workouts when you can. So that definitely, it was interesting to try to prioritize that. But that being said, I have the most supportive wife in college sports. She played herself in Michigan for Division II at Spring Arbor in Michigan. She played for them. Her older sister played at BYU for the girls and at Michigan State. So, I mean, they come from a sports background, and she honestly supports me in it more than anybody, almost more than myself. She's there pushing me every day to go get workouts, go to practice, lift. So, I mean, it's incredible.
It's got to help, she knows the grind.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if somebody doesn't understand that grind, then it might be like, why are you never here? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, why are you always at the gym? But if somebody that understands it and knows it, it probably makes it a lot easier.
Oh, for sure.
What about you personally? Like, what player do you like to emulate? Like, who do you think your game kind of molds after?
That's funny. We've talked about this a lot this season, and I don't really know. Growing up, I always watched Blake Griffin highlights all the time. I was like, Blake Griffin's so cool. I'd watch him all the time.
Fun to watch.
And, obviously I don't have the vertical nor the size or anything like that, but I just loved how hard he attacked the rim, how hard he would go block shots, play defense, how hard he dunked the ball. So I don't know. I guess that was definitely a role model. Also, on the flip side, though, I love to watch Ray Allen and a shooter standpoint, just catch and shoot, catch it where you shoot it type thing. So I don't know of a great, I guess, player comparison for me. Yeah. But those are just some of the athletes that I enjoyed watching.
Two really good players. That was Garrett Hawks from the EOU men's basketball team. You can watch that whole interview on the EOA network, so you can access all of the different sites if you just type in EOA.network. Gonna head over to Baker tomorrow if the weather's decent to take some pictures and to watch some LHS boys and girls hoops. Man, it's gonna be some good games. I want to say they're gonna be on NFHS too. If you can't make it over there, you got to pay a fee to watch NFHS, but at least you'll get to watch the game. That's all I got on a Thursday. AM Sports Report brought to you by Northwest Furniture Mattress. Go check out their showroom.
All right. Good stuff. Thanks, man.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So what I wanted to ask you was, what do you think of Trump and Musk? The combination.
I'm not going to talk about that on here. No.
Well, here's what I thought.
You can voice your
Well, here's
opinion
what
on
I
it.
thought was interesting is that I was talking to Tanya about this, and I said, well, Okay, so how long do you think those two guys are going to be getting along with each other? That's what I think.
Yeah, not very long.
No, yeah.
They both have too big of egos.
Yeah, because it's like,
they're
yeah, I mean,
buddies.
everybody, there's a lot of people that are terrified, and it's like, and I understand, it's like, okay, so when you have the most powerful man in the world, arguably, and the richest man in the world, and they're like palling around each other, you just pray to God that neither one of them are pure evil. Yeah, which I think there are a lot of people convinced that both of them are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but even last night because I watched Tanya and I watched the national news, even last night, I had said that yesterday morning. I said, well, how long do you think those two are going to get along with each other? And in last night's news, there was already a debate where there was some program that Trump was wanting to push through, and Elon Musk said, well, he doesn't have the money set aside. And the White House correspondent says, listen to Trump, not to Musk. So it's like, oh man,
it's gonna be a mess.
Yeah. So anyhow, I just thought that was, I don't know. Yeah.
It's gonna be entertaining. I hate to say that, but I get entertainment out of our government.
Yeah.
It's
I guess
bad.
I'm not. And the one thing we did talk about that you and I talked, is that I still believe in the checks and balances that are in place for our system. So.
All right. Yeah. All right. Well, kinda.
Yeah.
Kinda. It would be kind of like, to me, it would be kind of like, say like, it's kind of like a baseball coach, right? Usually, like when you're like a high level baseball coach, your assistant coaches, you hire them to kind of, not necessarily your buddies, but you're hiring usually because of what they've done in the past and because they have a different set of eyes than
they're
you,
not all
right?
in your camp.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and we don't do a good job of that in the government.
No, and that has certainly been disappointing because the agencies that you have counted on being somewhat neutral, the Justice Department, the IRS, the whatever the case might be, there are some departments that, even though there might be a change of guard in the president, that those, law is still the law. The FBI is still the FBI, and they still, and I mean, there's a lot of suspicion that is not the case, that has changed. So then you have these gigantic, and you could say that it's like the border. The border should be, and part of that is not part of it. That is Congress. Whatever happens to the border is something that Congress should decide, and they should have the stones to make it go. And so, but some of these huge things, they should be consistently managed regardless of who the president is. And so, yes, but now you have presidents, and over the last few years, and every time a new president comes in, a new position changes, then they take out all of those people and put their own
Clean
people that
house.
believe the way they believe. Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah.
We haven't talked about weather yet.
All right, let's look outside. Thank you, man. And
Clear, so clear out there.
it is. And if you pull up the graphic, it is just going to be the same. I mean, the temperature is very close to the same for the next 5 days.
Yeah, we're going to get a little bit of clouds tomorrow, but
Yeah.
only a 15% chance of rain.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the weekend is
yeah.
just...
Yeah, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, it's just clear and cold. Yeah.
Yep, drop down all the way down to 13 tomorrow night. That's going to be fairly cold. Or Saturday night.
Yeah.
That's kind of cold, but...
Yeah, so
For the most part, the mild winter continues.
If you have something that you're concerned about freezing that's outside, it's going to freeze.
Yeah.
It probably
already froze.
It already has. Yeah.
I was gonna say it's already frozen.
Yeah,
Don't worry about it now because it's already frozen.
We have a little bit of we have a little bit of water in the bottom of our bird bath, and it's been solid ice for for a few weeks, and so.
You know, as much as I dislike cold and snow, I think it would be cool. But I would only do it if I like with an outfit, like a guide service and an outfit where there's a heater and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But those tents that they put up where you can ice fish for walleye, like in Minnesota and North Dakota and like anywhere on the Great Lakes, pretty much. That would be cool because they have ones nowadays where there's TVs, full kitchens, couches, beds, and you're out on the middle of this lake fishing and you got cameras and little sonars showing you exactly where the fish are because that's how they do it.
Right.
They do it with sonar and with now they use cameras. But the one that I watch on YouTube, the dude that fishes that I watch on YouTube, he's in this one. There's a full kitchen. They're cooking cheesesteak sandwiches. They're playing Xbox on one of the TVs. They got their cameras. They got their fishing poles. That's my kind right there. I would do that all day.
Well, and then it becomes way more about just the social aspects of it than it does the actually fishing.
And you're fishing at the same time and catching like 24 to 30 inch walleyes.
Yeah.
Like just, you know what I mean? And they actually do one where they catch and cook right there in the hut.
Wow.
Yeah, they make fish sandwiches that just look fantastic. I love walleye too. Walleye is one of the very few landlocked fish that I'll actually eat. I'm a more of a like moving water kind of guy. Like I'm not big on like lake or pond trout. Like I won't eat any of that. But walleye, you get a nice walleye.
And I don't know enough about the difference of them.
It's white, it's flaky, it's so good.
I saw a social media post not too long ago of very similar, only it was a duck blind. And so they had, I don't know how they did it, but I mean, it was a duck blind, and so then you could see out and they were looking out over a pond. But I mean, on the inside of the blind was TVs. It was like a full kitchen. It was like a man cave.
That's exactly what it's like. Yep.
Yeah. And
I would do that too. I used to be big into bird hunting.
Yeah.
I love bird hunting.
You'd have to, in that particular case, I've never been in a blind, but you have to be super quiet, and so then you'd have to have
You
headsets.
don't when you're doing the fishing.
Right. No, that's
because there's this much ice between you and the water, and they're just in there. I mean, they drove the Tahoe out onto the lake, parked it right next to this place. There's an outhouse.
Yeah.
You got literally beds and couches, and they made cheesesteaks for crying out loud. That I would do, and it was like 74 degrees in there. They were just hanging out. I mean, obviously, if you get close to the ice, it's going to be cold. It's frozen. But
see, I like fishing, but I like fly fishing. Fishing where it's strategic or whatever. I mean, the kind of fishing I don't like is when you plop it out there, it's a bobber, you're just waiting.
It's the best kind
you're
of
just
fishing
waiting
there
for
is.
You're just waiting for a fish to come by and happen to notice your bait and get it. Yeah,
I love fishing in the ocean like that. You just take your, fishing for lingcod and rockfish. You just put your bait on.
Do you troll when you're doing that, or
most of the time you just sit still?
Okay.
Yeah, and you just drop it down, and they.
But you have they know where they're at. They know what level they're at, and so then it's like, okay.
You don't generally troll for rockfish or lingcod.
Yeah.
You might go like real slow, but not like tuna or like swordfish, stuff like that.
See, fishing, I mean, all of those outdoor sports, hunting included, is all of that has changed so much. I mean, when I was a kid, it was just pure luck. I mean, if you were going hunting, you'd know in the morning where, you strategically would pick a valley, or you'd pick a place, or you maybe.
So then it's not pure luck. If there's strategy involved, it's not pure luck.
When I went fishing, it was just pure luck. It's like, okay, well, if I were a fish, this is where I'd want to be, and you'd plop your thing out there, and But now there's a lot more electronic.
Oh yeah, there's
surveillance,
definitely
and that's my point.
Yeah.
The point is that there's you've got a lot more intelligence.
And advancements in technology have helped for sure.
Yeah.
But there's guys that don't use that still that probably are more successful than people that are using it sometimes, just because they've done it so many times and they know that area and they've been out. You know, hunting to a lot of people isn't just hunting season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's months and months prior. It's months and months after of going and scouting the area, knowing, and you can keep track of that electronically, but you know, that is irreplaceable in my mind by like technology. And
Yeah.
just being out there and knowing the flow of a herd.
Right, right.
You know what I mean? Like what a certain buck does. You know, they have guys that hunt these big bucks in the Midwest. And when I say big bucks, I mean big bucks. Like these guys are following these same deer for 5 years.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Not just
Yeah.
a season. It's like, I'm going to shoot him in 5 years. And I'm going to know exactly what he's doing from this day until that day.
Yeah.
Every day. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah. So, hey, change the subject, but this is kind of related and it's interesting. So, yesterday at the county commissioner meeting, they granted, because the funds come through the county, but they gave about $80,000 to local farmers and ranchers for wolf depredation non-lethal means, which is really interesting. Okay, so because keep in mind, the state of Oregon, the wolf is kind of sacred, which is a real pain in the neck for a lot of ranchers and farmers, and I won't get into all of that. But so then the state of Oregon says, no, you can't kill them, but you can do things to scare them away. Okay, and so some of the things I didn't quite understand all of it, but probably half of it was airplane fuel and the cost of pilots, and so they have some kind of a way of tracking them or scaring them away. I didn't quite understand exactly. And then part of that cost was also dog food, believe it or not. And so in other words, so there are dogs. So some of these ranchers have dogs and like essentially sheep herders, so in other words, anyhow, it was just, that was kind of interesting also.
A lot of sheep herders nowadays don't use dogs anymore, though. They use llamas.
Yeah.
My aunt and uncle, they always used dogs. I think they may have had one llama.
Yeah.
But a sheep guard dog is a weird dog, BC. I don't know if you've ever been around one, but they don't live at the house. Like the dog don't live up. It ain't a pet.
Yeah.
They're part of whatever flock they are with. Yeah. I mean, the one guard dog, I can't remember its name. It would come up every once in a while to the house, but I mean, he was a big. I don't even remember what kind of dog. Big, very big, and he was like, he didn't like people. He didn't want to be around you. He wanted food, but he didn't want to be around people. And they're a weird breed.
They're not a pet.
No. And they don't play either. Like very rarely. No.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. Guard dogs are weird. They're people. They talk about domestication. They're a different level of domestication than like your dog that lives in your house.
Right.
Like they aren't as advanced in domestication, I don't think.
Well, and what is interesting is, technology has potentially also affected, this. So again, I was watching a social media video the other day, and now you can get night vision. It's affordable. Before, only law enforcement could afford that, or whatever the case might be. But this guy his dogs kept barking at night, and finally he got a night vision scope,
so
he could see way out there. He could see a coyote that the dogs were barking at that he could never see, Yeah. But yeah, that technology has just changed so many things. And I was thinking about the wolf non-lethal means, and I thought, well, how long would it be before, you could get a drone, and the drone would, fly a pattern over your particular area, anyhow, it's just kind of interesting.
I'm sure there's farmers that do use drones to find.
Well,
a lot of them use trail cams all the time.
Right. Well, and you know what's funny? That was part
probably
of
on
the
the
money
list.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was trail cams and that type of stuff. The drone industry is not. It's almost to autonomous flight for the civilian, but there's a lot of legal permit stuff that you have to go through. Autonomous flight meaning you just have it go up and it goes wherever it wants. Technically, a commercial pilot or any drone operator has to keep that drone within sight. Well, if it's flying a 600-acre pattern,
Right.
you're
But
not.
right now, I could get online and get my drone's license in 2 hours.
No, you couldn't.
I know people. I know somebody who just did.
Yeah. Well, I
could.
I mean, you could take the test, but I can tell you it's yes, you can take the test in 2 hours, but there's a lot of studying in order to do that.
I mean, I know somebody that got it in like less than a week from when they said they were going to get it, and like literally probably took them about 2 hours to get it.
That was not my experience.
Yeah, I think it's changed.
Yeah. But
think it has
even then, let's say, so but to be able to fly a drone at night means that it takes a night exception. That can't be. I mean that. So in other words, that's a further permit, and then to have a drone that flies autonomous, that's another permit. So.
But how many people actually How many people actually follow those rules?
Well, if
Very few.
If you're a commercial pilot like I am, and people are paying me to do that, yeah, I care about that. Yeah.
Is it considered a commercial drone pilot?
Yeah.
But
Yes.
isn't it just called, what's the license called?
It's called Part 107.
Part
So
107?
technically, if somebody is paying you, or even if they're trading you value, you have to have a Part 107 license.
Yeah, a certified remote pilot,
Yeah.
a certification.
Yeah. But it's yeah. I know commercial is in there some ways. I have it on my permit, so. But yeah.
107, huh?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do the test and see if I can pass it without studying it at all.
I don't.
Just so we can come back on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday and get some information.
I don't. There is, unless they have radically changed it, which I can't imagine that they have. A huge part of the test is understanding how civilian aircraft fly. It's more about civilian aircraft.
Yeah, because you don't want to run into something.
Right,
Yeah.
but I mean, you have to know, what are the numbers on the runway stand for, and if you're approaching in a pilot, which way would you approach? I mean, there's how do you read weather reports? It's not something you just walk through unless they have radically changed it.
Well, but any test you can take online, you can. I mean, I have Google. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Like that's kind of like the handgun. Like in
Yeah.
Oregon, your concealed carry. You
Yeah.
can take that test online.
See, when I took it, it was proctored. I mean, I had to.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think. I mean, unless somebody proctored it online. Which
Yeah.
Is,
I
mean, that's possible, but
I mean, I guess, yeah. But if it's I don't know. There's a lot of shortcuts out there.
well, look at concealed carry.
Yeah.
There was a time like California, you have to do an 8-hour class. I know I've done it.
Yeah.
You have to do an 8-hour class, and you have to spend time on the range. You have to show them that you can.
Right.
Oregon, you can literally get online, right? Take the test in half an hour, print out the certificate, take it to the sheriff's office, and have your concealed carry permit within 2 weeks.
I don't. So there is no in class. That's not the case. There's not. That's not.
I guarantee you, in Oregon, you don't have to sit in a class.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do it right online and take the certificate up there and get your concealed carry.
Yeah.
I know that 100% for a fact. Yeah.
Wow.
Now, they offer classes, and you should encourage people to take the class with people that know what they're doing, but you literally can get online, take the test, and print out the certificate in Oregon, and go up to the and it's accepted.
Huh.
Yeah, yeah, it's wild.
Well, and I would be the first to say that's stupid.
I
mean, I don't. I mean, there's right. I mean, but it's like, yeah. Whenever you dumb down the requirements for something carrying lethal force, it's like, yeah. I mean, for those people.
But the reason why is because it's constitutionally protected to carry a gun. You don't. You know, the reality of it is you shouldn't even be having to take a test in the first place if you're following the Constitution.
Yeah. Well, if it were that clear, then we wouldn't be having this discussion.
Yeah, well, I mean,
there's
a lot of people think it's that clear.
Well, right, but clearly it's not that clear.
I don't know how much more clear you can get than the right to bear arms.
Yeah. well, I can assure that you and I.
It doesn't say the right to bear arms except.
You and I entering into the conversation and debate's not going to solve it. That's for sure.
No.
Yeah. No.
And
my only recognition is that that I don't. I mean, when I took the course for concealed carry. I mean, there was some things because I grew up around guns. I did gun safety when I was a kid. I know how to handle guns and so on and so forth. But when I took the concealed carry class, it was like, I hadn't thought about that. I mean, there was a lot of good stuff that was like, oh, yeah, you're right. That's not a good idea.
Right.
So.
Yeah. A lot of people don't think about the responsibility that you have when you carry a gun. A lot of people think it's not, I mean, it is a right, but it's also a responsibility.
Yeah.
A big responsibility.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't carry just for that simple reason. They don't want that responsibility, which I don't blame them. I don't blame them.
I mean, I have the ability to carry, but I don't carry all the time. In fact, I carry seldomly. But
I don't want to shoot anybody.
Yeah.
I really don't.
But there are certain times when it's like, if I'm going out late at night or if it's, I don't know, there's just sometimes like, I'm going to put that in my pocket real quick.
Traveling is always a good time.
Yeah, right. If we're going out of town or if we're going, someplace a little bit remote or going on a Sunday drive somewhere, up in the mountains, it's like, yeah, going
on a Sunday drive in downtown Portland.
That could make a difference. Yeah.
Portland's not that rough though.
Yeah.
Like Portland doesn't even scare me.
So I'll tell you a funny story. So I had some friends, and this probably happened 50 years ago, and a husband and wife were out on a drive, and they were young, and they out on a drive, and they came, and this is in Wyoming. They're way out in the middle of nowhere. And the husband gets out, there's another rig that's kind of blocking their path. Well, the husband gets out and he's talking to them and they're talking friendly. And all of a sudden it was very clear that the other guys intended to beat the crap out of the husband, And so they're in the middle of this conversation. All of a sudden they just start backing down and they get in their vehicle and the husband gets back in his rig and he goes, wow, that was great. I'm really glad that was avoided. And just about that time, the wife who was in the vehicle is like, she's putting the gun back in the glove box. So she couldn't, he couldn't see, but the wife was like, just very casually made it very apparent that, hey, yeah, if you want to beat up my husband, we're going to have some other deterrents to deal with. Yeah. Well, hey, you want to get us out of here?
Let's do it. On this day, January 23rd, 1789, Georgetown is the first U.S. Catholic college. 1849, on this day, Elizabeth Blackwell becomes the first woman in the U.S. to earn a medical degree, graduating from New York's Geneva Medical College. 1973, on this day, U.S. President Richard Nixon announces an accord has been reached to end the Vietnam War. On this day in 1996, the first version of the Java programming language is released. 2018, on this day, Chinese researchers reported that they have cloned 2 monkeys using the same technology as Dolly the sheep. 2020, on this day, the voice of a 3,000-year-old Egyptian priest is recreated by scientists using a 3D printing of his vocal tract. That's cool. That's really cool, actually. 2024, on this day, the doomsday clock remains set 90 Seconds to Midnight by the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists, citing threat of a new nuclear arms race, the Ukraine war, and climate change. On this day, the #1 song in 2005, Let Me Love You by Mario. And then the quote of the day comes from Judith Martin. If you can't be kind, at least be vague. One more time. If you can't be kind, at least be vague.
There's some good truth in that, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Go
few,
easy.
There's few reasons to corner somebody into some some people go out of their way to do that. So,
Yeah.
all righty. Hey, thanks you guys. So don't forget, next Tuesday right here, Justin Montgomery will be with us for the second installment of Artificial Intelligence. You're not going to want to miss it. Pass the word. It's going to be good.
Yep. We'll see you on Tuesday.
See ya.